Hello family and welcome back. I'm glad to be sharing with you today how to cut and sew this lovely laced pencil skirt with full lining. Kindly don't forget to subscribe if it's your first time here. Also like and leave a comment down below. Let's get started. Here are the materials to be used in making the skirt. First material you need is a cotton lining which is 1 meter. Second is the gum stay to be used on waistband for reinforcement purposes. Lastly, I have this African print fabric, both for front and back parts. At the top is front part piece, which is on fold into 2 with wrong side. Here is where it's folded from the center front. This is how to know what measurement you need. Measure quarter hip circumference from center front, plus about 4 extra allowance. For back part, I have these 2 pieces not on fold though. They are separate pieces put with wrong side facing each other. The only difference from front is that it has about 2 inches zip allowance at center front. So now I'll bring forth front piece in order to show you how to cut front and back parts all at once. And like I said, I'm leaving 2 inches zip allowance on back pieces. After achieving an alignment, I'm going to start drafting. At the top is waistline, then also we have center front here. Keep that in mind. I'll start by leaving out 1.5 inches allowance for waistband. This is to be attached on waistline later. So now we'll take waistline to hip line measurement at 9 inches. From there I'll again take waistline to skirt full length line at 23.5 inches. I want to repeat the same measurement on side in order to achieve straight horizontal lines. Once I'm done, I'll go ahead and square out horizontal lines across marks put using a ruler, so that we have hip line here, then second line is full length line. These are the 2 main vertical measurements needed. Let's now put in body measurements, and bear in mind that we'll measure from the fold which is center front. This is quarter waist circumference I'm marking on waistline. No allowance added at this time. Again, I'll take quarter hip circumference on hip line and mark at 10 inches with no allowance added as well. And this being a pencil skirt, I'll subtract 1.5 inches from whatever I measured on hip line. So that's 10 minus 1.5, which equals to 8.5 inches. I'm going to stop there for now and go to the next thing, which is to measure 2 inches from center front. This will depend on your waist measurement. As can be seen, mine isn't that much. That's why I've decided to use only 2 inches. So just do your math well. If it's much, you can use up to 3 or 4 inches. On hip line again, I'll measure 3 inches. That is, I've added 1 inch on the 2 inches marked on waistline. Whereas on full length line, we'll use 2.5 inches only. After that, I'll go in with hip curve ruler to draw first inner outline as can be seen. We need second inner outline from where the lacing loop will be stitched, which is why I'll measure 2 inches from the drawn line on waistline. In order to know what to measure, you can decide and divide whatever is left by 2. Next, I'll mark 3 inches on hip line from drawn line still. And lastly, 2.5 inches on full length line. That being so, I'll go in with hip curve ruler to draw second inner outline as shown above. From there, I'll just complete skirt outline with marks put earlier. To put it differently, the second section will be cut out completely so that lacing loop can be stitched on it. For this reason, I'll be adding some allowance on side, but first let's do some math what is needed. For the middle piece and second section, you need about 0.5 inches on each side. That's a total of 1 inch. On the second part, we need about 0.5 inches on the left side and 0.5 inches on the right side. That's a total of another 2 inches. I'll not cut from this third line, but I'll add 1 inch side stitching allowance that gives me 3 inches in total. And lastly, we'll add 0.5 inches, the allowance to be used in stitching lining to fabric on side. This is a total of 3.5 inches. Here I'm adding 3.5 inches allowance on side from waistline down to full length line, which I'll use to draw final skirt outline freehand. Note that this last section is total allowance to be used. Further on, I'll reduce 0.5 inches on waistline downwards. Then I'm going to use a curve ruler to draw new fronts waistline in that manner. Henceforth, I'll cut out from drawn line. Moving forward, we'll notch at full length line on both sides like that. so that it can be easy to know where to fold facing from. Another key point is marking outer line on facing 2, since you need to cut outline with facing part folded like that. When done, also trace front center line on back pieces like I'm doing. After tracing, flip front piece a bit, then measure further 0.5 inches inwards from drawn line and draw with the ruler a line from the mark to hip line. This is done to prevent zip bulge. Having done that, you also need to shape allowance in that same shape from where you need to cut out. You see, because we'll be cutting through drawn lines, I'll extend the already drawn lines to facing part. Then I'll go ahead and cut through the first line and second line afterward. Here is how front middle piece looks like, and I'll arrange each of the front pieces in the order in which they are to be stitched. With me are pieces to be stitched for making loops together with lacing thread, these 2 long ones. I'm going to demonstrate how to make lacing loops using these other short pieces. You need to fold in each side, then fold the last time into 2 like this as you stitch from one end to the other end, after which you cut into small pieces. This is me showing you how it's done practically. Just like I said earlier, fold in this manner, then take it to sewing machine and stitch on side as you fold until you are done. This is not the end, guys. One last thing is stitching also on the remaining side like I'm showing you. After stitching, measure about 1.25 inches when folded and cut from there. So now we'll use the first piece in measuring the rest of the loop pieces. Here are just a few of them, still not enough for both sides, so I'll make more. I'm done making loop pieces. Hopefully this will be enough. For the lacing rope, I'm going to use this other long piece, though this time we'll stitch on side when folded into wrong side from top edge to bottom. This is me stitching as explained. Once I'm done with that, I'll use this long screwdriver to turn it inside out. Take note that one end is also sealed by stitching. Here are lacing ropes after turning inside out and ironing. That aside, let's pin down all the loop pieces on the side front pieces from waistline. I'll be leaving 0.5 inches from waistline for stitching of waistband. After I'm done pinning the first 2, I'll measure 3 inches on both sides and mark. So now there is where the second pair needs to be pinned. Same process goes for the third pair to the last one, and same to apply on the other side piece. This is what we've got after stitching all pairs, and there is no need of stitching loops on the facing piece. That's the reason I left it as plain as it is. And very fast, I'll show you how to stitch now middle piece to side pieces. Put right sides together like that, then stitch from bottom edge going up with about 0.5 inches carefully. After you're done with the first side piece, the second is to follow, to be stitched exactly using the same format. Guys, I'm done doing that thing and it looks more beautiful after ironing. Just look at that, so neat. So now the lacing rope will be put through each loop interchangeably to the last one. We'll see how that is achieved at the end of this video. I'm gonna work on back pieces too, which is now very simple. After arranging them back to how they are to be stitched, I'll put right sides together, side pieces to middle piece, and stitch also from bottom edge to the top with 0.5 inches for both. Here is what I've got after stitching as explained, and I've ironed as well. This is the front piece, and what you need to do from here is folding facing from original full length line. Once that is done, you'll need to cut cotton lining for the upper part left, which is to be attached to facing. I'm done cutting lining for the space that was left, and here is it. So now we'll show you how to attach them to one piece. First of all, hold from bottom edge with the right side facing each other, and I'll just pin down from one end to the other end. After pinning, stitch on pinned area first, and assuming you've stitched, you need to fold it from skirt full length Then go ahead and also stitch on sides with 0.5 inches. The top part should be left as it is because we'll turn it inside out from there. Same will go for 2 back pieces. Here is front part after stitching and turning it to its right side. Then again comes back part piece, stitch and turn inside out. The second piece is not yet turned. This is how it looks like just after attaching it to lining. So I'm gonna need to turn it to right side with oil. From there, I'll head over to ironing board and iron all these pieces flat. There we go guys, pieces already ironed. And once more, I'll just trace front center piece to back pieces. And further on, I'll mark 0.5 inches inwards, which I'll join to hip line like that. Like I said earlier, purpose for this is to prevent zip bulge. Then I'll make a notch right there. That being so, we'll take out front piece from the back pieces. Then I'll measure 6.5 inches slit allowance from bottom edge. Again, I'll measure 6.5 inches this time from waistline on the line steel for zip allowance. So now we loosely stitch on slit area, back stitch here, then normal small stitches around here, a back stitch, lastly loose stitches on zip allowance. I did everything as explained earlier on. If you can see, I didn't back stitch at the top edge and bottom. Now that back pieces are joined together, we'll also bring forth front piece and align them together, right sides facing each other. After achieving an alignment, I'll stitch on both sides using body measurements. Front and back pieces are now stitched together from sides, and it's time to rip out the zip allowance that was loosely stitched, so that it will be easy stitching the waistband around waistline. The waistband has gum stay already ironed on it. On the shorter side is about 4.5 inches. Once we stitch with 0.5 inches from both sides, we will be left with about 1.5 inches when folded. Let's head over to sewing machine and stitch this waistband all around waistline with 0.5 inches. And if in case there is an excess left, we'll cut out afterwards. I'm done fixing waistband and it's starting to look like a skirt. One last thing to do is have this black long hidden zipper also stitched on the blue lines you see. Took my time in fixing the zipper and this is what we have. I really love how it came out. I've gone ahead and also laced on one side. So now we'll demonstrate how it's done. The reason as to why you see I have this screwdriver is to open them up as I'll be putting in the rope. Pay attention to how I'm gonna do that. Guys, I'm done with lacing the skirt. Here's the final look. This is so beautiful. Kindly comment down below what you think of it. Also, don't forget to subscribe if you're new here. Bye bye.